right, thanks for staying with us. You're still watching Newsnight. Well, the tax reform bills remain very contentious, and so we have guests here in our studio and, of course, our legal studio joining us. From our studios here is Abuja Chairman of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Kennedy Iwundu, as well as tax audit and advisory consultant Albert Folorunsho. He is in our Lagos studio. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us on Newsnight tonight. First, let's even get your thoughts on the new derivation-based model of VAT distribution and this tax reform bill that's is subject of contention. What exactly are the elements that's made it such an issue? Let me start with you, Kennedy Iwundu, here in the studio.
Thank you for having me. The contentious issue is that the VAT allocation formula was proposed to be on derivative consideration. The derivative consideration is just to say the region or the state that generate more VAT should get more from the VAT allocation. And the northern part of the country, especially the governors, believe that such a derivative consideration will not favor the north. But I have a different perspective. My perspective about the whole thing is that in the north, they produce more of agricultural products. And we are all aware that agricultural products are exempted from VAT. Call it seedlings, animal husbandry, and all that. So most of the products that are agricultural products that are being produced in the north are being sent down to the southern part of the country where you have the industries that will transform these agricultural products into semi and final finished goods. So at the end of the day, you discover that the states that have more industries, that have more companies, are likely to be the state that will pay more VAT or generate more VAT than the states that have agricultural produce that don't really have the industries to transform these goods. So my advice is that the northern governors or the northern elites should have sit down and say, how do we industrialize our area? How do we industrialize our region so that most of these agricultural produce that are not vatable will not be leaving our region to the southern part of the country, especially the Lagos, where you have industry that will add value. Because if agricultural produce are not vatable, definitely most of the produce and products of farms that are coming from the north, you are not going to get VAT from them. The VAT will definitely come from the states that are highly industrialized. And if the states are highly industrialized, of course, they are going to give federal government more VAT or more VAT revenue than other states. So at the end of the day, it boils down that we need to have people who are ready to industrialize their region. The northern part of the country should sit down, especially the governors. How do we encourage the setting up of industries in the north so that these industries will add value and make sure that these goods are produced, not waiting for other part of the country to produce and generate VAT and for you to come and share it. And that is what we are saying in fiscal federalism. Fiscal federalism should be structured in a way where states will be very competitive in revenue generation, not waiting to come to Abuja every month to FAC allocation and be sharing revenue from the center. So that's my perspective for now.
Well, let's bring in Albert. Under the current law, VAT is allocated 15%, 50% and 35% respectively. Speaking of the federal government, the state taking 50% and the local government 35%. So help us break it down now that this is bringing up two significant fiscal policy reforms from the federal government. What are the headaches that experts like you may have pointed out in this new document that is about to be halted?
Thank you very much. The existing provision is that 15% goes to the federal, and of course the remaining 85% between the state and the local government. And of that 85%, 20% is based on derivation, which is just where the tax is collected. But the intention of the tax reform bill is even more lucrative for all the states because it is based on where the goods are consumed and where the services are consumed. And so it is intended that the model for where you attribute where the goods are consumed into the process is intended to be included in this reform, such that goods consumed, produced in Lagos, of course, at that point, at the point of production, you have the goods coming in, the VAT will have been paid. But when the goods are sold in other states, there will be attribution to those states, and they are supposed to be distributed on the basis of those attributions. We have had that system in the past where branches of companies, banks, pay tax to the state where they are located. And that is the intention of this work. It's not likely, it's not that the branches will now be collecting VAT, but in this case, there will be attribution. When you are filing your return, you need to file it along with where those sales are made. And so I thought that it would have been better if this understanding or questions are asked and this understanding is heard by the northern state before those decisions are being taken. And I think fortunately, it is not like the bills are to be thrown away just because of one item, and that is very fortunate. And so there will be clarification as to the application and the model that is intended for the law to be implemented, which they will definitely come to terms with and understand that it's even more, is better than what we have in this current existing method.
Right. Let me bring this back to Iwundu. Yes, there are 4 key elements in this, tax bill, Nigeria tax bill, to eliminate unintended multiple taxation. Tax administration bill proposes new rules to govern tax administration. Revenue service to rename FIRS. And of course, the last one, Joint Revenue Board, to establish or to replace the Joint Tax Board. But more importantly, you made a point about fiscal federalism. Are you saying, Iwundu, that maybe Nigeria needs to begin to look at economic restructuring in a way that will reflect, the peculiar needs of the different parts of the country, and maybe more importantly, reflect their comparative advantage?
Yeah, thank you. The fiscal federalism, for countries that practice federalism, we don't have this concentration we have at the center, where the federal government collects revenue and begin to share. It is very wrong. It's not the structure of federalism. Federalism is that you allow states to collect their revenue and pay a certain percentage to the center. Then the center will concentrate in an exclusive list where they will take care of their foreign activities, the boundaries, the customs, the immigration, banking and currencies, foreign affairs. Then the state will capitalize in domestic activities like roads, education, healthcare. So we want a Nigeria that will work. Nigeria is not working right now with the structure of our federalism, where the federal government, they collect revenue and start sharing to states. So the governors are not thinking of what to do to generate revenue. What they are thinking is to come to Abuja every month and share money and go back to their state. We need a fiscal federalism where states will be competitive. There should be competitive advantage. Some states may be good in solid minerals, some states will be good in agriculture, some states will be good in tourism, some states will be good in massive production. That's done in the United States. We copied the United States separation of powers and also federalism. Why are we not doing the same thing? Because we can see the progress is bringing that state. Every state has the competitive advantage. So I suggest a revenue allocation, a structural federalism where states will be very competitive. You go back to your state and ask yourself, what do we have that we can generate as revenue? Right now, as it stands, so if there's no federal allocation, some states will not pay salaries. Some states will not pay salaries to their workers. Some state governors are not thinking of what we can do to generate revenue for even the personal income tax given to states to collect. So many states are not collecting anything in personal income tax. And if you go all over the world, personal income tax is one of the highest tax any government can collect. So we expect a federalism where everybody will sit down, not what we call feeding bottle federalism. You cannot give your children money. Children are grown-ups. You keep dashing them money. Don't work. Just come out, dash you money. The children will be lazy. So we want a structure where the states will be allowed to generate their resources, generate their revenue, and that is the only way Nigeria will move forward. And there will be competition among states. Every state will be competing to generate revenue, competing to do production, competing to allow investors to come to their state, and at the end of the day, Nigeria will start working. Right now, Nigeria is not working because of this kind of federalism.
Let's bring in Folorunsho, because some of the key concerns will be looking at the challenges in implementing what the Presidential Task Force has actually, committee has proposed. Keep in mind, some of the key concerns some other experts have raised is some states where some commodities are not even allowed to come in. And how do you, I'll give you an instance. In some state, for instance, Kano, where alcoholic beverage is not allowed, how do you expect an equitable sharing of the VAT that perhaps its headquarters of such production company will ultimately bring on the table to be distributed?
Thank you. Very good question. Like we already know, VAT is a consumption tax. So where you consume goods, you consume services. The fact that you are not producing or you are not allowed to sell some items does not mean that some of those items are not being consumed in those states. You need to look at the statistics. If you look at alcohol, cigarettes, of course, it may be officially banned, but I know that in so many states where they are even restricted, they are still being consumed. And as long as this VAT is based on attribution to consumption, attribution to where service are rendered, rendered and consumed by the person you are rendering the service to, the VAT for that particular state will go to that state. So it's a point of looking at the model. What is the model? What is on ground? What are the regulations that are going to be issued to companies that are operating in Nigeria as to the basis for remitting the VAT they collect? It's not only where you sell. It is where those consumption are based. A question has been asked as to telecom. Tech is going to be very important in this system, and that is why we even have the reform. One of the main essence of the reform is to optimize collection of taxes. And so if tech is brought in, you'll be able to ascertain, even if you are in Kano and you are making a call, that can be captured, and you will know exactly where the VAT on that particular call should go, and not where the head office or where the VAT is accounted is located. So those are some of the things that are already in the offing that are supposed to be in the model, and I'm sure by the time the engagement is allowed, and like it was said by NEC, that it requires further engagement. I'm sure one item, because I'm sure you have seen all the bill, the Nigeria tax bill, the administration bill, the revenue service bill, which is changing the federal revenue to Nigeria Revenue Service to emphasize the fact that FRA does not collect tax for only the federal government, it's for the whole federation. You know, there are a whole lot of benefits that are there, both for individuals and for the industry. And by the time
Albert, we really have to go. The conversation continues. We'd like to thank you for your insights, Albert Folorunsho and Kennedy Iwundu. Many thanks for speaking with us here on Newsnight.